Kirby Smart and the #1 ranked Georgia Bulldogs are a little over a week away from taking on the Clemson Tigers to kick off the 2024 season. But as you all know, there's always an eye on the recruiting trail. The Georgia Bulldogs have 22 commitments right now in their outstanding 2025 class. And in my opinion, I think they've got room for about 5, maybe 6 more guys in this class as they push for possibly another top-ranked #1 recruiting class. I'm going to dig into all of that and talk about who are Georgia's biggest targets, where do they sit with their biggest targets, could they get a commitment by the end of the month? We're going to dig into all of it because this is another very, very strong class, and I want you all to know all about it right now. If you're on Dog Post, you already have an outstanding idea of how this class is shaping up, where they need to go, but I definitely want to jump on YouTube and share with our YouTube audience where things stand with the 2025 class. So let's jump on board, and I'm going to dive right in, okay? I'm going to start with the big dogs, okay? The 2 5-star defensive linemen from the Peach State that Georgia, I think, sits still in a favorable position for. I'm going to start with Elijah Griffin, the #5 prospect in the country. He's 6'4", 300 pounds from Pooler, Georgia, not Savannah, Georgia. Pooler, Georgia, plays for Savannah Christian, made 97 tackles last year from the interior defensive line position, 31.5 tackles for a loss, 17.5 sacks. This is a game wrecker. This is a game changer. This is an easy 5-star that I think has been trending Georgia's way for a while. He's down to a final 3. Georgia, I think Miami and Southern Cal are the other 2, but I'm telling you right now, if you just connect the dots, right? You don't have to be an analyst to kind of figure out this is probably leaning Georgia's way, right? Just connect the dots. Location, Trey Scott's resume, the relationship that he has had with the Georgia staff from the very beginning. They offered him as an 8th grader. The relationship there, again, the location, the ability to win a championship in your home state, the ability to probably hear your name called in the first round if you keep developing. Everything shapes up for Georgia. The only way I do not see him at Georgia is if he just gets a blank check from Miami or Southern Cal. That is the only way. Nothing else makes sense. It makes all the sense in the world that this kid, who I've been told has been leaning Georgia's way for a long time, even in the beginning, I was told it could come down to Georgia and South Carolina. Now South Carolina is out of the picture. Miami, Southern Cal are trying to fight Georgia for him. I would be very, very surprised. And this is what I continue to hear, right? I've been hearing this all throughout the summer, leading into, we're not in the fall yet, but even last week, earlier this week, over the weekend, I've been always trying to ask about this young man with sources related to him because he's that good. And I continue to hear Georgia is in the driver's seat. I expect him in Georgia's class. Same with Justice Terry, who made 78 tackles, 6 tackles for a loss, 13 sacks last year for Manchester. Was committed to Georgia early on, flipped to Southern Cal, opened things back up. He is going to be in Atlanta to watch Georgia take on Clemson in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I've said for a while now, I'm not backing off. I think he will end up in Georgia's class. #7 overall prospect, #2 defensive lineman, #2 prospect in Georgia. Kid's a freak. He is all muscle, could be a professional wrestler when his football days are over. He looks the part, plays the part. He is a fantastic, another interior defensive lineman who could play on the edge. Either way, in-state kid, I think he's going to end up in Georgia's class. Those are 2 elite defensive linemen that I've talked about for a while. Still think Georgia lands both of them. Kevin Wynn is another name to know out of Greene County. I've been told that he's still in communication with Georgia. Braxton Kyle out of North Gwinnett is another name to know. Now, they do have just 2 interior defensive linemen right now. J.J. Hand out of California. Got a story coming up on Dog Post about him. And then Stephon Shiver. So they need more interior guys. And Braxton Kyle is a new name to know out of North Gwinnett. Another powerful, quick interior defensive tackle. Had an interception in the Corky Kell Classic last weekend to kick off his senior season. Good athlete for his size. I've been writing about him as a sleeper guy. He's not a sleeper anymore. He is going to play big-time Division I Power 4 football, and it could be at Georgia if he gets the green light. He's definitely a guy to keep an eye on. On the edge, Chase Linton out of North Atlanta, another long, athletic pass rusher who is still developing, right, as a three down lineman, run stuffing guy, but he's long, he's athletic, he can attack the quarterback. Did not play in week 1. I'm excited to see him get back on the field when he does, because he plays around my neck of the woods a couple times. I believe he plays South Forsyth, North Forsyth. I'm in beautiful Forsyth County, so I would love to see this kid play this year. And I don't have to drive too far, right? But he decommitted from Rutgers because Georgia offered. I think a few other teams are getting in the mix, but I would be very surprised if he does not end up in Georgia's class. Before I continue, I want to talk about a linebacker to know, possibly another wide receiver, running back. I'm going to still dig into recruits, but gotta plug it, collegebronze.com. I want you all to have this Georgia Bulldog statue on your front porch because it is the best-selling, #1 best-looking Georgia Bulldog statue on the market. If you're looking for something to let your neighbors know that you pull for the dogs, it's this bad boy right here. You can get a discount today. Promo code DOGPOST, DAWGPOST. All the information is in the description below in this video, so make sure you get yours today. Promo code DOGPOST, don't forget that, and it'll be the smartest thing you ever do. Get your bad boy Bulldog today. Okay, let's talk about linebacker, right? Jaden Perlotti flipped to Southern Cal. Christian Gass is a low 4-star, I think. He committed to Tennessee over Georgia. They've got Zayden Walker out of Sly County, one of the best linebackers in the country, right? But I've always been told that they want to take 2. And they just took 3 total linebackers in the last class. Well, actually 4 if you count Quintavious Johnson at outside linebacker. But I do think they would like to take another inside linebacker. Who could that be? Anthony Crua is a name to know out of Marietta, another long, natural athlete who has his best football way ahead of him, looks the part. He's a competitor. I mean, this guy gets after it. I really like the film. He's currently committed to North Carolina. But if Georgia tries to flip him, I absolutely think they can. I mean, I'm not ruling out anything when it relates to Glenn Schumann getting after the linebackers that he wants. So we'll see what happens there. I do think they want to take another linebacker, and he is a name to know. In-state kid from Marietta. Okay, wide receiver. I was told early in the process that the number was 5. 5 wide receivers in this class, and they only took 2 in the 24 cycle. Nitro Tuggle, Sokovia Whites. They wanted to load up here. They've got 4 on the commit list already. They're going to keep pushing for C.J. Wiley, as they should. Would not surprise me at all if this kid ended up in Athens 1 or 2 times to take in a game this fall in Athens. If he wants to jump on board, Georgia's going to welcome him with open arms. He's got a spot in this class if he wants it. So he is a name to know. I still think he's somewhat open. I know he's committed to Florida State, but that is not a done deal. Not a done deal whatsoever. We've seen Georgia kind of open up the NIL checkbook a little bit to flip a kid from Florida State in the last cycle, KJ Bolden. We'll see if they do that again. I don't think his recruitment is all NIL related, even though I'm sure Florida State presented him a big NIL opportunity. And Georgia doesn't really use NIL, at least a lot of those funds, for wide receivers. Again, you can win a national championship without recruiting elite wide receivers. It just helps if you turn them into it, right? Ladd McConkey was a 3-star, not elite when he got to Georgia, but he left Georgia an elite wide receiver. Same with A.D. Mitchell. So you don't have to sign elite wide receivers to win championships, but you do have to bring in guys that you think are very talented who could turn into elite receivers. And Georgia's done a good job of that. But C.J. Wiley is an absolute dog, and if he wants to jump on board, he is going to be in this class. I expect Georgia to keep pushing for him. In the secondary, we'll see if they take another. I'm not sure they will right now. They've got 2. They've got Shamari Earls at cornerback off the top of the dome right now. Todd Robinson at safety out of Valdosta. Jalen Morgan, Rashad Johnson. Am I missing someone? Let me know in the comment section. But I think it's just Jonte Gilbert. Jonte Gilbert out of Douglas. So, yeah, they got 5. I think they're going to be set there now that I think about it. But I do think they're going to take 2, maybe 3 more defensive linemen. On offense at running back, they might just take Bo Walker and that's it. And that's okay. They signed 3 running backs in the last cycle. Nate Frazier, who's an absolute dog, who I think we're going to see against Clemson. 4-star Chauncey Bowens, who is a solid back. And then Dwight Phillips, who is already one of the fastest players on Georgia's roster, maybe across college football. He is a track star speed demon. that they have. He is a weapon at running back. So they just signed 3 in the last cycle. They don't have to sign 2 in this cycle. We'll see if they start to push for a running back. They don't have to, though. They're good at tight end. They're good at quarterback. I think by now, Nick Brooks, a massive offensive lineman who is at Grayson now. He's been transferring all over the place his high school career, whatever. But I think he's committed to Texas by the time you're watching this. He commits Friday at 4. I'm recording this on Thursday. So I'm going to look like a real dummy if that kid commits to Georgia. Right now, I don't think he will. But yeah, there's still a handful of spots out there in this class. Georgia's going to push for that number 1 class. I'm not saying they're going to get it, and they don't have to get it, right? But it's going to be a top 3 class, maybe top 2 class. We'll see. Just depends on who they finish out with. But I love their chances still right now for Elijah Griffin, 5-star from Pooler, and then 5-star defensive lineman Justice Terry out of Manchester. Still like Georgia for those 2 dominant, elite interior in-state defensive linemen. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. I'll see you over on the website.